What you're hearing is Hardie Fiber Cement Siding living up to its reputation as the siding that helps resist weather damage, no matter what Mother Nature throws its way. James Hardie knows how important a reputation is, especially when you're a home builder. That's why Hardie products withstand the elements better than wood-based siding, with styles to match their strength. Because when home builders work with us, we deliver our best so they can look their best. Protect your reputation with exterior products by James Hardie.
Welcome to the Health Courage Collective podcast, the show for women who are too busy to slog through hours of generalized, inapplicable, and often contradictory health information, but too smart to ignore that a few minutes of focused attention now can prevent years of suffering in the future. I'm your host, Christina Hackett, a pharmacist who doesn't want you to live on prescriptions, a certified coach specifically trained to maximize your potential, and a compulsive learner obsessed with preventative, cutting-edge, holistic, and integrative medicine. I'm on a mission to increase your physical and mental resilience so you can fearlessly look forward to your next 40-plus limitless years. Your time is now. Let's go. Hello, welcome to another episode of the Health Courage Collective. Thank you so much for being here today. It really means a lot to me that you're tuning in. How is your holiday season going? Have you been training your tranquility? How has that been going? Have you had enough time yet to notice a difference in your state of mind? It's powerful stuff to be able to be quiet and still. You are in elite company if you are training your tranquility, and the benefits are huge. Today, it's T-minus 3 days till Christmas, so we're going to talk about how perfect imperfection is for your holiday season. I absolutely love this quote from Richard Rohr, who has been a Franciscan monk for 5 decades. It's from his book, Falling Upward, and I think it's super brilliant. He says, quote, "If there is such a thing as human perfection, it seems to emerge precisely from how we handle the imperfection that is everywhere, especially our own. What a clever place for God to hide holiness, so that only the humble and earnest will find it. A perfect person ends up being one who can consciously forgive and include imperfection rather than one who thinks he or she is totally above and beyond imperfection. It becomes sort of obvious once you say it out loud. In fact, I would say that the demand for the perfect is the greatest enemy of the good." End quote. Isn't that a great quote? One of my all-time favorites. While Christmas time is fabulous and one of many of our favorite times of the year, a lot of us tend to put a bunch of pressure on ourselves to have everything be perfect. I'm not sure why this is. At least some of the blame needs to go to Hallmark, right? Those shows are so dorky and predictable, and I still like them for the most part. It's hilarious. I'll watch one while I'm folding laundry or wrapping presents, and my husband will roll his eyes. Then he'll come in at the end and I'll be like, "You'll never guess. Everything worked out. She fell in love with the small town baker instead of the big city CEO, and they all had the best Christmas ever." I just looked it up, and there have been about 260 Hallmark Christmas movies made, including the 41 new movies from this past year. Have you seen the meme that says, "What has 15 actors, 4 settings, 2 writers, and 1 plot?" 632 Hallmark movies. So funny and so true. Maybe the reason we get sucked into these movies and fall into the trap of personal holiday perfectionism is that we want to create joyful memories for our kids to treasure for years to come, and we want to enjoy connections with all of our loved ones and show love and appreciation for those around us. I think it all comes from a deeply loving, divinely motherly instinct inside of us to compel others around us to experience the magic of the holidays and the joy of loving family connections the way we do. It sounds lovely, but we can't control anyone else's experience, even if absolutely everything is perfect. The ham is perfectly glazed, the potatoes don't have a single lump, the eggnog doesn't give anybody heartburn. There's not a speck of dust on the blinds. Every gift is wrapped with chevron pleats in the paper so fresh pine boughs and holly berries can be tucked in as decorations. And spontaneous caroling breaks out in 4-part harmony while snow gently falls outside the windows. Even then, the people we love may not experience those moments as magical or perfect. Perfectionism is defined as a disposition to regard anything short of perfection as unacceptable. Perfection isn't bad, by definition, it's flawless. Flawless sounds pretty good, right? Remember from the episode about being unhappy for the rest of our lives that perfect is actually what we're aiming for? It's our guiding star, but it's not our distant shore. We'll never actually get there, and we'll never enjoy the journey along the way if we think we won't be happy until we get to that distant shore. The quest for the perfect can light our path, but we need to be careful to steer clear of perfectionism. Perfectionism, that disposition to regard anything short of perfection as unacceptable, is very problematic, especially during the holidays. In his book, How to Be an Imperfectionist, Stephen Guy says that perfectionism makes you stay home, not take chances, and procrastinate on projects. It makes you think your life is worse than it is. It keeps you from being yourself. It stresses you out. It tells you that good is bad, and it ignores the natural way in which things work. End quote. So what if this holiday season we refuse to be stressed out or to believe that good is bad? What if we are more authentically ourselves and embrace the natural way in which things work? Then we'd be what Stephen Guy calls an imperfectionist. He says that imperfection isn't bad, it's freedom. And Father ROHR said that a perfect person is one who can consciously forgive and include imperfection, rather than one who thinks that she is totally above and beyond imperfection. So our key to the perfect Christmas is to include and accept imperfection, even the imperfections within ourselves. Stephen Guy gives us a few tips about how to become better imperfectionists. He says that the problem with perfectionism comes from unrealistic expectations, rumination, need for approval, concern over mistakes, and doubts about our actions. Our way to overcome unrealistic expectations is to quit being so attached to the results and put our focus on the process. How can you show up as who you want to be and focus on the things you want to while letting go of the end result? Maybe you want to connect more with your teenager. How can you take the focus off whether you feel like you had a fantastic bonding and deeply connecting interaction over those 2 expensive gifts you bought for him and put your focus on the process? What can you do to show up as the mom you want to be? How can you feel more love for him regardless of how he appears to feel? Focus on that instead of the outcome you can't control, no matter how hard you try. We overcome rumination by not overthinking about things we cannot change. No matter how much we wish we could, we can't change supply chain issues. Now what? What can you change? We get past our need for approval by divorcing our sense of self from other people's opinions. Only your own opinion of yourself matters anyway. We overcome our concerns about mistakes by learning to embrace mistakes as an inherent part of life. How can you remind yourself when something goes askew that it's not because you're less than or you didn't try hard enough, but because you're human and mistakes are part of life? Perfectionism and imperfectionism are both determined by what you care about. What do you care about this holiday? Is it a Pinterestly perfect set table? An Instagram-worthy picture of everyone in matching pajamas? Being told that you're an expert Christmas decorator? Not having a single glitch in your gift exchange? Or is it something deeper? Imperfectionists care less about the results and more about putting in the worthy work of the person they want to be. They care less about problems and more about progress. They care less about what other people think and more about who they want to be and what they want to do. They care less about doing it right and more about showing up and doing it at all. Do you remember the part of the quote from Father ROHR that said that human imperfection emerges from how we handle imperfections, especially our own, and that is where God hides holiness so that only the humble and earnest can find it? Handling our own imperfections well is so important, but so hard. It's often easier to forgive others than to forgive ourselves. What can you do to change that, even just a tiny bit? How can you better handle your own imperfections this Christmas? What can you do to hold yourself to a high standard, allow your idea of the perfect mom to be your guiding star, but still forgive, accept, and embrace your personal imperfections? We all have them. How we respond to them can be a key to holiness, which is pretty cool. Embracing imperfection kills the fear of failure because it includes failure as part of the process. It's smarter and more effective to focus on what you can actually control, which is the process, not the results. So by caring more about the process, it sort of ironically shows that you actually care more about the results, not less. You're just not gripping onto it so tightly that you start to strangle it. I'd invite you to think about what you really want this Christmas and focus on the process you can implement to facilitate that circumstance. What is your process? What can you actually control? How can you focus on that and know that the outcome will for sure not be exactly what you had envisioned? And that that's not just okay, but a beautiful thing. The true perfect Christmas, even. How can you welcome and include imperfection in your celebrations this year? Can you still get the outcome you're hoping for, even if the rolls got burned and the whipped cream collapsed? How can you remind yourself what's important? Some of my favorite childhood memories are laughing when the top layer of the cake my mom made slipped off the bottom layer, or we couldn't go where we were supposed to because the city hadn't plowed the snow from our street and we couldn't get out of our driveway. Some imperfections end up being good stories or funny memories. A Christmas story wouldn't be the same without the Bumpkiss's dogs eating the turkey, the furnace constantly going out, or the department store elf who kicks him down the slide. Ho, ho, ho. Other imperfections can just be an opportunity to grow and practice our philosophy. The more imperfections we have to deal with, the better we can become at accepting and appropriately responding to them. The better we get at handling imperfection, the closer to perfection we actually become. Thank you for being here today. I hope you have such a good Christmas. Remember that the key to becoming more perfect is to know that we are never above and beyond imperfection, and that you don't allow the demand for the perfect to be the enemy of the good. Next week, we're going to talk about our most neglected body system. Until then, don't be normal. Thank you so much for tuning into the Health Courage Collective podcast. I am truly honored that you have paid me the enormous compliment of your time and attention. I would be so grateful if you would share this podcast with someone you know and subscribe so you never miss an episode. This podcast is for entertainment and information purposes only. Statements and views on this podcast are not medical advice. This podcast, including Christina Hackett and producers, disclaim responsibility for any possible adverse events by use of information contained herein. If you think you have a medical problem, consult a licensed physician.